Yo, what is going on, everyone? Eric Rosen here, astrologer, shamanic practitioner, apparently trying my hand at call myself a prophecy. I'm very fortunate. My dharma is cosmic quantum insight. And so for me, it's not just looking at astrology charts and doing horoscopes and doing readings. It's also actually channeling the astrology. Like, I communicate very much so with the planets. And the first time I ever did prophecy work, it was an invitation from Spirit in 2020. And I didn't share the info because I thought it was really wild. But this was, I believe, pre-COVID. And the prophecy that came through was there was going to be a major fertility crisis by the year 2050. I didn't share it. I later spoke about it, and some people are kind of groaning like, well, that's not really a prophecy. The fertility rates are on the decline. But I didn't think people really got the message, like it's probably going to get worse. I mean, I hope not, but I mean, Pluto and Aquarius. Pluto's the Grim Reaper, Aquarius is the collective and people in society. As I said that, this video is at the 1 minute, 11 second mark, if that tells you anything. So, but I did get the reactivation a few weeks ago from my guides and from the Arcturians as well, who I also work with and channel with, to start giving people the message that they need, not so much the message that, you know, they want, you know, like tell me all the fairy stuff about my astrology sign. No, motherfucker, like we're going to talk about how this huge fucking shift that's coming in 2027, I know that's a ways out, February 2027, we have a 413-year cycle ending, the right across the planning that is demonstrated through human design, system modality 2 astrology, if you're not familiar. And we start what is called the rise of the sleeping phoenix. So we're shifting from an integrated society of structures and external systems that we mostly can't fathom what it's like to not operate in a matrix system, to personal sovereignty, creativity, intuition, being a spiritual MacGyver on the spot, and basically everything that we've been preparing for, you know, the deeper meaning behind studying astrology and human design and gene keys and doing spiritual work and shadow work. It's to get to know our real selves, because the anti-self ego is just going to lead us probably into fear and into coals that, and the traps that will always still be available to people that want to use Pluto and Aquarius to try to, you know, groups of people to manipulate the masses. So, but there's so many things coming, so many disclosures, so many things happening that, but I think what people need to be reminded of, you know, it's not just a disclosure of what goes on out there in the government and AI and economics and religion and, I mean, the weird sex spells that have been put out, you know, the weird confusing people about their genders. There's just, I can go on about the agendas, you know, that are being pushed to confuse people and keep them shrouded. But there's also disclosure of the human soul, which is very Pluto and Aquarius. And so by design, the story I told myself, at least, because it may go a different direction, when I drop in a channel, I don't know what's going to come through. Like the first time that I did this, I thought it was going to be about the medical industry because that's what came up at first, but my energy was not calibrated and the channel wasn't ready. And so I waited, and then when I went to open up the channel, that was when the Charlie Kirk stuff was coming out. So actually when I dropped into the channel, it was all about the PSYOP stuff with Charlie Kirk and like what to do about that. So you can check out that video. It's on my YouTube, astrologer Eric Rosen. And then I did just post a lecture, a little public speaking engagement I did at a local metaphysical fair. The audio quality unfortunately didn't turn out the best, and I've got some refinement with my speaking where I use the word like too often. I really did not notice that I was doing that. Actually, it was cool that a YouTube subscriber, or at least someone that caught a video, pointed that out to me. They're like, hey, you don't really use the word like when you do your channeling. And it's like, yeah, because it's not really me. It's not my conditioned self that, believe it or not, I'll just take a personal moment just because I like vulnerability and relatability. First time I ever did public speaking in 7th grade, I almost fucking fainted. You know, I tried to hide a lot growing up. I did not want to really be seen or stand out, because tall poppy get cut. You know, you stand out, you try to radiate, you try to be seen, bullies will come in and reject you. And so that's not really a thing anymore, but like that's the human conditioning I'm shedding through my human design. You know, it's like to get my light brighter and brighter, and well, really just not to dim it, just to fucking be myself, right? But you can check out that talk that I did. That's what I was getting to, because I sometimes digress, where I went into like, what is coming in 2027? What's going on with all that? What is the rise of the sleeping phoenix? And so it's about 55 minutes long. Talked about it, did a little kind of Q&A section at the end. But what I surmise that these channelings are going to be when I, at a minimum, access the Akashic records to give people a message to really integrate in the now, because that's what 2027, that shift teaches us. It's like, it's now. And we're in a lot of ways in the test phase. It's not fully there, but you know, didn't our parents get us prepared for kindergarten? Or did they just dump us off and be like, oh, by the way, you're going to school today. It's called kindergarten. What? Imagine that central nervous system overwhelm. So, you know, a part of the shift that's coming, or at least the pre-shift, is Saturn-Neptune meeting in Aries in 2026 officially. And it's very like early, that's the earliest sign there is, right? It's a spring season. There's a little bit of a kindergarten piece to it, initiating, newness, the spring. So if you can take these channelings or prophetic videos or whatever they're going to be, and I'm not doing this from ego. I mean, am I Capricorn as fuck and resonate with Viking energy where being seen in fame is cool as fuck? Yes, but in my heart, I'm here to serve, and I know that. So whatever comes through, the idea is to play with it now, integrate it now. This isn't just for entertainment. This is not here for theatrics. This is true spiritual missionary work. And if you want to be on the front lines and the way shower and the pioneer, and at least at a minimum feel more ready and acclimated in your central nervous system and shifting the consciousness of your reality of how it really operates and not what we were lied to, and that this is not, you know, fucking novelty. Like, this is real shit. Like, we're gonna have to like embody spirituality now, and like what that really means, and even detox and decondition what's being spiritual fucking meant, you know, because doing everything Abraham Hicks style, like without fucking doing anything, is not gonna work. Sorry. That's just not the astrology. It's not the human design. I mean, there's some of it for sure. That part's a part of it that needs to come with it, but spirituality kind of left out a lot of the masculine parts. So anyways, it could just be talking shit. Let's see what comes through with the channel. When I was at that metaphysical fair, some of them look like a turd, but I got what's called a prophecy stone. Apparently this is kind of like a new crystal, but I walked up to a table. A fellow reader was standing at to finish a conversation we had started, and my eyes immediately went to it. So I'm gonna hold this prophecy stone, see what comes through. Also feeling called to say, if anyone has any questions, drop them below wherever you see this video. And as always, you know, on an individual personal basis, because that's what the astrology is, that's what the rise of the sleeping phoenix is in human design. It's very individualized. So if you need help embodying, becoming your astrology, becoming your human design, your gene keys, getting the shamanic clearing work, the coaching, like truly, like my business is like upgrading to the sense of like midwifing people into a new sense of their identity to create what they want to create, because that's what I'm doing. And also everyone that's been, not everyone, but most people that have been coming to me that want to work with me deeper, it's been about they have a creation and they need help from a wizard that knows how to create, that created his own business, that's created his own reality, that like, you know, doesn't rely on outside systems to like keep me safe anymore. That's a fool's errand. secure, safe, even a relationship, a job, a relationship. Those are always the attachments people tend to have the hardest time with, because we start putting something outside of ourselves first. That's not our true, unique consciousness, our soul signature, our higher self, etc. All the love and light stuff, all the good stuff. But in order to create these things, we have to change. And I think people need to understand that. Like, you have to become it now. You have to be it. You have to not just believe it and go out and do it, but you have to become it in your frequency. That because the rise of the sleeping phoenix favors so much kind of the spirit of the entrepreneur, if you will, the creator, the free spirit, the one that goes out and initiates. When you don't have outside systems to lean into, and you're not leaning into the energy of those outside systems, whether, I'll go deeper too, and I did in that video that I did at that metaphysical fair discussing this, but outside systems of the job, even the relationship, but also it could be the medical industry or the insurance industry or the banking industry or politics, religion, whatever it is. So when you don't have that to rely on, it's your own soul signature, and can you let that in? Because a lot of this, like right now, I'm just putting this out there as me, it's like, can you embody your soul and your higher self and your true frequency? Because that is what is more important than trying to like perfectly align the chakras to vibe, and because it's still trying to like get something. It's very Satma Virgo right now, I'm trying to do this and align. It's Libra season right now. I'm trying to align so that I can get that thing out there. When really it's like, just fucking become yourself and decondition the shit. So in a broader sense, these channelings, these Akashic records, prophecy, whatever it becomes, is designed to give it to the general masses. And of course, the people that resonate with me most, honestly, are already on their spiritual path, like spiritual teachers, creatives, entrepreneurs, leaders, but I help others too. It's just, it tends to be those that already kind of get it. So if you're watching this and there's not resonance, maybe we're not meant to connect, but then maybe just go back to some of the basics too of learning about spirituality, astrology, human design, and just remember to stay curious during this time and like really humble, because we can be really great creators, but if we get stuck in our ego and thinking that we're going to have a gold harvest, the universe might show us that we have other plans, other lessons. So calling in my divine guides. First, I'm actually calling in Saint Germain's violet flame to purify my field, purify any sense of ego in the channel. Opening my third eye. They are saying abundance is real. People can very much prosper during this time. It has a lot to do with the frequency of joy, being in the creation of joy, knowing we're supported. Lots of breath and spirit. Calling in Archangel Metatron, the keeper of the Akashic records, calling in Archangel Michael for protection, Ganesha for removing blocks, calling in my guides, Maximus, Valencia, calling in this energy of Thoth, also known as Merlin. Also want to invite in the Arcturians, the Lemurians, the Palladians. Inviting in my personal dragon, Calypsis. Okay. We see this one of the channel understands his deep level commitment to the collective to offer this message, and as he offers it freely, we ask him, and he chooses to open his heart to radiate the beauty that is coming in 2027. First, to remind folks to not be afraid, to not be scared. The shift that's coming in 2027 from a higher divine perspective can be described as tearing out pages from a spiral notebook in order to remove the old clutter, the old debris, the information, many of it false beliefs, false ideologies, illusions, matrix systems, propaganda, in order to not go back and review those notes, is it to strip them away from the subconscious of the human mind? Because it is the ending of the right angle cross of planning that deals with structures. Structures and systems ultimately serve as the illusion that these things carry power, which has created much of the subconscious defeats in many, feeling that they're pinned down by a system of their health, their finances, a political system or political party, the beliefs of others. There was a deep sense of subconscious avoidance that was created in a certain sector of the populace from 2020, and while many have opened up beyond this, there's still a great fear in the collective of what it's like to tear away these pages. And just like tearing away pages from a spiral notebook, it leaves behind shards in the spiral, and there's a mess to be cleaned up. However, for some, cleaning up that mess can feel very satisfying, especially not only during, but in completing it. What's left behind in the spiral notebook, and this is the Akashic records of where we're going, the future, going forward. It's blank pages. There are lines on the page to serve as loose structure, still being governed by, at least for now, certain laws such as time, day and night, gravity, human lifespan. Sexual intercourse for creating life, breathing, etc. Making mention that while there's a boundless nature going forward, there are still certain laws for now that have been agreed upon on certain levels of consciousness, kingdoms of consciousness, going all the way up to the 12th dimension in order to create a planetary system of experience. Now, there are many dark forces that are out there that would like humans to believe that they are quite limited. And while this is, of course, hogwash, they equally do not want humans to understand the laws that bind this reality, to accept them and to study them and know them. As once you understand the laws of the universe and how reality operates, you can become a creator. You realize that you are the pen holder as well as the pen, and you can begin writing on these lines. Now, for many, during this time and potentially going forward, but especially during this present time, because of fear and because the subconscious releases have not yet completed themselves that root people into their shadow self, their anti-self, connected to the illusions that have been described. Many do not like the quote-unquote poetry that they're writing on these blank lines of these pages, as there's been a sort of test run in the collective of experiencing what it's like to have more boundless freedom due to the outer planetary alignments as well as the most recent eclipse cycles. It's worth noting that every mistake that is made, everything that's written in permanent in ink, that anyone wishes to cross out or have done better, is a perfectly imperfect part of the process of learning that humans are here to learn, to experience how the universe works and how the universal laws operate. All in all, what we're asking is for the intellect of the mind to become still, neutral, and rise to a higher perspective. Some archetypes that describe this phenomenon are the hermetic, the wizard, the prophet, the soothsayer, the mystic, those that understand the mystical properties that go beyond the current measures of science, although much science and much technology has learned to measure these things, although they've been done indirectly and reverse engineered. And while these technologies, unfortunately many that are hidden that will attempt to be used against humans, some of these properties have been discovered. We want to remind everyone that following their intuition, specifically through various modes, and no one modality is correct, but understanding, refining how their intuition operates, that because of the free will of choice and consciousness, the election of how a human chooses to access their intuition, the most important piece is that they understand that it is their intuition, it is their authentic intuition. Now, what creates the highest level of trust and clarity in the intuition is for these beings to first have an open heart, as it's important to release any grief, shame, to detox anything in the heart that is not in service. To an era of freedom, of prosperity of the spirit, connection, longevity. The second prerequisite suggested is being rooted in the body, free as possible from any traumas, PTSD, anxiety, feeling that safety comes through the lower chakras connected to Mother Earth, that Mother Earth has a plan during this time, that Mother Earth communicates with Father Sky and the cosmos, that although higher forms of consciousness such as angels, ascended masters, spirit guides are also going through a time of tumultuous change, it's a reminder that these ultimately are reflections of the current state of human consciousness that ebbs and flows, but that the current laws of the universe as they remain is that the cosmos, the sun, the moon, the stars maneuver at a very specific rate, speed, predictable patterns at this time, as well as a certain level of perfectly imperfect unpredictability of Mother Earth, that nature goes through cycles, spring, summer, autumn, winter, as well as expected ebbs and flows in terms of the elements on planet Earth. We see the most important thing that humans can do during this time on planet Earth in preparation for 2027 as a part of deconditioning the illusion is to grieve. The grief is a part of the process of the human construct to experience their emotions beyond the mind's control, as emotions move humans into their intuitive capacities, their connection to spirit, their greater connection to their own sense of self-awareness of what goes on inside of them, to more so embody the essence of their spirit, their intuition, even their human design should they choose to, as well as the angelic realms. because the right angle cross the planning system structures deal very much with external environments, and that the human mind deals very much with the perception of external constructs and environments, it's worth noting that the mind needs a deconditioning of being tied to it, even perhaps even addicted, expectant for the yields of the external system. Things such as going to a job for a certain paycheck that's standard, that's expected, going to a certain group of people, perhaps a religious organization, expecting healing, forgiveness, atonement. As many of these are turning internally during this time and leading up to 2027, there's a lot of grace that is needed, grace, space, especially during this current 6-month eclipse cycle, for slower movements, slowing down the process of thinking, movement, engagement, creation. As if the mind is doing the talking and the deciding, it could be plugging into a system that's ending, that has a dead end, and that there will be no yield in terms of the outcome that is expected by the mind, which reinforces a need for processing not only the shock, the surprise of not receiving those expectations, but also even more layers of grief to process. So by feeling the emotions, humans are able to stay more on track with what is true to them. Creating grace gives space for feeling, gives grace for grieving, that reveals the layers beneath of what's true, that the grieving, the graceful periods, the healing allows lower frequencies to not control the show. We see that there's a high level of choice available to humans right now to simply decide to vibrate at higher frequencies. What they're encouraged to be mindful of is that any resistance or pain that they have, and as an experiment leading up to 2027 to put this into practice now, if they feel as though they cannot access this higher energy, higher light, a higher sense of self, that there's no outside influence that's keeping them in a quote-unquote coffin of the spirit, keeping them from rising up. This is just the pain body of the mind, and that the human mind can simply not take no for an answer. Now, because of the various forms of consciousness that exist, such as spirit guides, angels, even divination tools, these are here in place to honor the divine timing of things, to honor a more subtle and flow-like evolution of the human spirit, to not create unrealistic expectations of ascending into a higher sense of being overnight through free will. But rather, when humans feel the calling of creating a shift in consciousness to rise to higher vibration within themselves, to work through any fears or resistances during that divinely timed moment and those cycles, as these are portal openings where the subtle body, the energetic body, can release any debris in the auric field that's very necessary for having a clear field of understanding, especially in the emotional centers of the human. That this is also part of a detoxification of the pineal gland, as well as the prefrontal cortex, of how the illusions have been viewed by many humans. This could be anything from what they see on the screens, from AI to movies to political talks to even what they see when viewing any religious orchestrated events, even sporting events. There are many quote unquote red herrings. There are many false markers of consciousness that exist. These are distractors. This is a time for the third eye, the sight, the perception of the human to turn inward, not outward, as only keeping the third eye, the consciousness aim outward, only serves to seduce the human into sort of milking the udders of the cow of the system that is collapsing. And this system runs deep. This system runs oftentimes, especially in this country of the US, through the sexual channels, keeping certain beings hooked into their shadow anti-self. That is also an involuntary seduction, deception into accepting certain things that will be revealed, such as human trafficking, exposing the deeper underbelly of how deeply this runs, how it's connected to, of course, politics, but also the religious organizations. That many of the reveals will be the bedrock of the system in the US doesn't operate through Christianity, but actually rather through satanic rituals that have been disguised. And many that are willingly participating not only in what on the spiritual aspect some consider to be acts of liberation through expressing their sexuality with multiple partners, but also on the extreme pure end of religion and following certain indoctrinations, that this is equally sinister as this is stripping away the free will of the human spirit to decide how to think for themselves. So on both ends of the spectrum, there is a deceptive call into involuntarily surrendering free will, the freedom of thinking, the freedom of choice, both in creating the illusion of freedom on the one end, from the spiritual sexual front, all the way to the religious end of promising liberation from sins for worshiping false ideologies. See this one of the speaker, the channel feels complete at this time to maintain his energy reserves. It's time for clearing. So it is. Whew.